It's a world we rarely see. Mosques in Syria are places historically dominated by men, but before the rebel uprising, that was actually changing. I want you to take a look.
فبتشدهم بدكم على المطالعة لأنه إن شاء الله بدنا تخلص دورة القرآن وتضل المطالعة ما تقدر تقعدي بدون كتاب.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أنا بدي أروح على الجامعة بس يعني نحن بهلأ بمجتمعنا يعني نحن الوحدة أول ما تصير 11 بكالوريا دغري بخطبوها.
For girls, it's very important to learn what is in Qur'an because if you don't really know, you are going to be misled.
وجعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاة المرأة في بيتها خير من صلاتها في مسجدها.
المسلمين نفسهم أصبحوا يحرمون المرأة من كل شيء، من حق العلم والتعليم، لكن هذا جهل ليس من الدين يعني في شيء على الإطلاق.
هل يحق للمرأة أن تستلم رئاسة الجمهورية شرعاً؟ يحق.
A Light in Their Eyes is a film inspired by a female Qur'an teacher named Houda in Damascus. Julia Metzler and Laura Nix produced and directed this documentary. Laura's joining us live from Los Angeles to talk about this. It's really fascinating when you look at this. Tell us why this is so important for young women to understand really what the Qur'an says.
Well, Houda al Habash is teaching girls to memorize Qur'an, often by the age of 10 or 12. And you think that maybe that's not a progressive thing to do, but it turns out that it's hugely beneficial for the girls in their community because they're able to then distinguish the difference between what the Qur'an says and what the culture is saying to them, the messages that they're getting from the culture. Because oftentimes they're confused, but they're actually very different. I mean, all the girls in Houda's school are also getting a secular education, and they are studying all the normal subjects that girls do here. And Houda's encouraging them to do this. She wants them to be able to go out and get degrees and get jobs and live public lives. And she's using the Quran to teach them that it's actually within their rights as a Muslim woman to do that.
And tell us a little bit about what has happened since you shot this documentary, because I understand this was actually something that was featured before the uprising in Syria began.
We did finish shooting the documentary in November 2010 before the uprising began, and Houda and her family are safe. They're not in the country currently. I did speak to Anas, Houda's daughter, yesterday, and she's not in Syria right now, but she's in touch with people who are. Everybody in her family is safe. The girls in the mosque are safe, but they're in a terrible position. The neighborhood that their home is in and that the mosque is in is having houses being burned down, and everybody there is living a life of fear and insecurity with really no end in sight. I mean, of course, before that, when we were there, Syria was a very peaceful place, and the mosque was a peaceful place, but the change that's happened is really shocking and very heartbreaking.
And Laura, tell us, what was it like for you actually to produce this documentary? Was it difficult to reach out to these women?
It's very difficult to make a documentary film in Syria, of course, because there's no freedom of the press there, and it's especially hard for American filmmakers. It took many years for Houda to be able to trust us enough to give us access to the mosque. Foreigners are not allowed in mosques legally in Syria. And we had to go in through the border of Lebanon with our equipment because there's scanners at the airport, and we worked with a very small all-women crew in order to make the film. But we feel very lucky that Houda gave us this opportunity to tell this story because people usually aren't allowed inside the women's side of a mosque.
Laura, thank you very much. Laura Nix. If you want to see more of Laura's film, you can go to pbs.org/The Light in Her Eyes.